Greetings, everyone. I am Dr. Wolf, and I just finished watching A Flurry of Emotions. A bit of a back and forth episode, in my opinion. There was quite a few positive things, a few in the middle things, and a couple of moments where it didn't seem like it worked. I imagine that most of you probably enjoyed the episode, and I did too. There's plenty of moments that certainly made me laugh. I would suggest that just maybe you don't start an episode with that kind of plot exposition dump. It's a bit awkward in the way that Twilight was talking about how she's going to be visiting Foles in the hospital. It's almost like she's being put in front of a camera, one of those celebrities that's basically saying, I'm going to do all I can for the kids. I know that there's nobody around, but that's the way it came off to me. I do have to appreciate, honestly, that Cadence and Shining Armor, when you see them come to the door, you can tell that they're ragged, you can tell that they're exhausted, but I actually like seeing a bit more of that. Now, we got a bit of that with Shining Armor in the Season 6 premiere, but there was even just this brief moment where Cadence had to stumble over her words, and it didn't last all that long, but for just that moment, I saw a bit more character for her. She wasn't always this pony who knew exactly what to do and always had the right things to say and always just standing around and looking pretty. I like seeing her flustered. Please, let's get more of this in the future. As for Twilight and Flurry Heart, it's a bit back and forth. I like the fact that Flurry Heart is being a little cuter in her interactions and not just going with the big smiling face the entire time. She seems very much overpowered with how quickly she's able to learn spells, and that's one thing that I was worried they were going to take away from her, because that was easily the most interesting aspect of her character in the Season 6 premiere. As she's growing, I hope that there are more circumstances where Twilight is going to be realizing that Flurry Heart is beyond her and that she has to work even harder to reach out to her and be able to teach her and that kind of thing. It makes Flurry Heart a little more overpowered, but for the purposes of conflict and story, I think I'm okay with that for now. That could change in the future if they keep bringing it up and keep making it even worse and worse and worse, but for now, I think it does work. As for the moral of the episode, I think a lot of us could see it coming from a mile away. There were a couple of circumstances on the journey that threw me for a loop, but yeah, we could always tell right from the start that Twilight was going to get overwhelmed. She wouldn't be able to do everything she wanted. It was probably going to leave a lot of messes along the way. I wasn't quite expecting that when Flurry Heart loses her little plushie toy, that she'd be going all over the hospital trying to find it herself. I thought she'd be the one sitting in that same hospital room with all the kids and just screaming her heart out like she did when the crystal heart shattered. It makes her a bit more interesting if she's trying to solve problems herself. I'm a little concerned that they give her this baby-level intelligence at certain times, and then they make her surprisingly more like an older child's maturity at other times. It's a bit of inconsistency that I'm hoping they will address in the future, but it was okay for now. Not perfect, but okay. But Twilight learning a lesson that she should have been focused more on Flurry Heart to begin with, and not try to do all this at once, it seems like something we've seen in previous episodes here and there before. Not particularly interesting. But on the other hand, Cadence and Shining Armor going through this art gallery, which at first just seems like, oh, they're not really sure what to do there, it feeds into their I miss our baby. And that's just adorable. I like the fact that both of them are realizing that even though they're flustered, even though they're exhausted, even though they don't know what to do half the time, they adore their little baby daughter. That is absolutely adorable, and I want to see more of that. I wished that there would be an episode that would focus on the three of them for the entirety of the story, but I don't know if we're ever going to get that. This may be the closest we're ever going to get to that point. But for what there is, yeah, it works. It works pretty well. I was actually more interested in Cadence and Shining Armor learning a little bit of a lesson about their family, rather than Twilight learning something that, yeah, it seems a bit too standard. But Twilight, you know what you could have done to avoid all those messes and still be able to get through everything that you wanted to do? Maybe have Spike do all the shopping, collect the books, collect the treats, and go and read the story to all the foals in the hospital. Because right at the end, that's exactly what he's doing, and he's doing a fantastic job with it. Why didn't she try to do that? Why didn't you trust in your #1 assistant, Twilight? Putting aside all the cute baby moments from not only Flurry Heart but also the Cake Twins, which was a bit of an interesting surprise, this is another episode where Spike is shown to be at his best. 3 episodes in a row where Spike is doing what he does best and not acting like a child. Please, let's see if we can last this throughout the entirety of the season. You know, Twilight, maybe that's the better lesson to take away from here, because even though Princess Cadance and Shining Armor brought Flurry Heart without any kind of warning, and that's a bit of a mistake on their part, and even though you decided to take Flurry Heart knowing that you had a full schedule for the rest of the day anyway, that's a mistake on your part, but you could have fixed it if you relied a bit more on Spike. He was always the one who seemed to be on the ball by showing you the schedule in the first place. But yeah, as I've said at the start of this little review, I have a bit of a few mixed feelings on this episode. Many things that I really enjoy, some things that I think are okay, a couple of things that maybe could have been tweaked to be a little bit better. It's good. Not great, maybe a little bit better than okay, just good. Certainly worth a watch. And honestly, I think it is a good thing that they're focusing a little more on secondary characters throughout every episode this season thus far. Let's see more of this. You insert a couple of the main 6 here and there to make sure that fans are happy with what they're seeing of our favorite characters, but yeah, the secondary characters are more interesting at this point. But what do you guys think? Honestly, it has been a while since we've seen Princess Cadance and Shining Armor and Flurry Heart as a bit more of a focus of an episode, but I like the fact that they were able to leave an impact without doing too much. Do you think it's possible that an entire episode centered around these 3 could actually keep an audience's interest? Let me know in the comments below. And as per usual, I am Dr. Wolf, and I look forward to hearing from you. And for those of you who are interested in knowing, I'm actually up in Idaho again, so that's why I've got a bit of a different setup for my episode reviews, but even on vacation, I have to see what's coming up next for MLP. Yeah, that's cute.